Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of AutoCentral, South Africa's #1 motoring podcast. My name is George Mienie, joined as usual by the none other than Wandile Sishi. How's it, Wandi?
Not too bad, not too bad. I've been, I'd marked this day on my calendar.
You did?
Yeah, I've been super excited.
With a square or a circle?
I think it was a triangle, actually.
Well, you will notice that we have a guest in our show today, and we're joined by Greg Maruszewski. Did I say that right, Greg?
That's correct.
That's perfect. I had to practice that.
Yeah. Looking in the mirror last night.
Yeah, practicing Maruszewski. I love those kinds of surnames. That's from Poland, you say?
Poland. I was born in Poland.
You're born in Poland.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Polish surname. So Greg's from Poland, and Greg is the managing director of Volvo Car South Africa. And today we're going to unpack how this popular automaker became one of South Africa's most popular automobiles, and what to expect in the coming months or years. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Very, very good to have you. So, Wandi, where can our listeners find the show?
As usual, you can find our show on cliffcentral.com if you want to listen to the audio on Mondays at 9 a.m. But if you want to look at our faces and see what Greg looks like and see what I look like and what George looks like, I guess, you can also find us on the AutoCentral SA YouTube channel. And we're also streaming live on Spotify as well as iTunes Music if you want to listen to the podcast at your convenience. And if you're looking at the feed, please don't forget to just comment, share, subscribe. Tell us what you think. Just think about Volvo.
Smash the like button, especially if you like Volvo.
Yeah, definitely.
World's safest car. And so let's unpack this episode. We're calling this the Volvo episode, unpacking the secrets of one of South Africa's top South African automotive companies. So in recent months, we've had the opportunity to sit with a couple of OEMs, Wandi, to understand how they are navigating this ever-changing future automotive market in South Africa. And today we continue that trend, where Wandi and I sit with Greg, the managing director of Volvo Car South Africa, and who has the challenging job of ensuring that Volvo continues to remain one of South Africa's most recognizable brands in the country, and how it is to run one of the top manufacturers. So first of all, Greg, welcome to AutoCentral. And before we kick off, we have a couple of quick-fire questions to put you on the spot.
A test.
A little test, yes. And we do this with all our guests, so don't worry. You can't fail or pass this test. So the question is, which do you prefer, winter or summer?
Summer.
Burger or steak?
Steak.
Book or movie?
Movie.
In terms of vacation, bush or beach?
Definitely bush.
In terms of car, ICE, battery electric or hybrid?
I'll take a hybrid for now.
And what was your first car?
It was a Ford Escort XR3.
Wow. And what is your current car?
That's the black XC40 T8.
Right there.
Oh, we have a black XC90 in the studio. Well, I had the fortunate opportunity, and thank you very much for giving me the charcoal. What was the official color?
Thunder Grey.
Thunder Grey, that was it. The beautiful Thunder Grey Volvo XC90 to drive, which was the same as this vehicle that we have in the studio with us today. And Volvo kindly let me drive that car for a week, and I can tell you it is amazing. When you get in, you don't want to get out. Yeah. How long have you been driving this car, Greg?
This particular one, it's been about 3 months.
3 months?
It's time for a new one.
Okay.
But I think I've been driving the T8 since it was introduced, which I think was May 2016.
Okay.
And the same feeling as you. Once you're in it, you don't want to get out. So I've just changed the colors.
Okay.
Stayed with the same car.
What color did you have before this?
The Thunder Grey that you drove.
Oh, okay. Oh, what a beautiful car. Absolutely stunning. I mean,
is it a 7-seater or is it
They're all 7-seaters.
Okay.
You can get a 6 or 7.
Okay.
But the back row with the 6-7 seat also folded flat.
Yeah.
So you can't really see it until you pop it up.
Yes. Okay. Well, which is very useful, and
convenient.
Doesn't seem to change, the fact that
the size of the car,
the size of the car, or
and you don't lose any boot space by having those 2 seats at the back there.
Yes.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
It's flat. Even if you fold the middle row down, it'll be flat all the way down to the driver's side.
Okay.
And you can put some decent stuff in there. It's quite a big car. This. I tested some of its. I won't call it autonomous driving, but driver aids.
Yeah.
I drove it quite a few times, like medium distances, and it does quite well. in lane keeping when there's obviously lines. But I think most driver aids need lines.
To kind of read the road and make sure.
Exactly. And there was one stretch where I had my hand on the steering wheel, hardly touching it for a long period of time, and the car kept to the curves on the road, didn't follow the car in front of me, and I hardly had to do any work, which was
the lane markings are the essential items.
Yeah.
But once they're there, then like you say, I think it depends on the speed of the car. You can let go of the steering wheel.
Yes.
But the best is just to hold it lightly, let the car steer.
Yeah.
And the speed gets adjusted automatically.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So let's get into it, Greg. How did your career begin in automotive?
I started in South Africa. I joined the Wheels of Africa group in 1997, I think it was, internal audit. And then through that company or that group, I went over to the Volvo side, and they had everything except Volvo cars. Did some audits there, and then when they got the Volvo car importership, I went to run the finance division. And from
What year was this?
98, I think they got the
so
importership. And then from 2000, when Volvo car took over as the official importer in South Africa, I joined them, and here we are, 20 years later.
Wow. I mean, that's. Obviously, it's a quick description of your journey, but it must have been quite a journey to get to this position in your career.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel with Volvo. So I was here in South Africa for 3 years, 2000 till 2002, in finance. Then I moved to Dubai, where initially it was finance position. I took over as the managing director for the region, and then moved over to Prague for a couple of years, to Austria to run the hub of Eastern Central Europe, then moved to Turkey and back to South Africa for 5 years now, 5-6 years.
Oh, wow. And I mean, out of the blue question, tougher place to work in Europe or in South Africa?
Probably outside the South African market is the toughest.
Okay. And
for Volvo.
For Volvo. And the reasons for that? Purely size or?
I think it's because the strength of the German competitors.
Okay.
Most of them have a manufacturing plant here.
Yes.
And also, I think from a customer perception, we've changed that, I think, over the last couple of years. But it's not an easy sell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely doing a lot better, even with the younger circles. It's definitely become one of the top sort of considered.
We've seen some good increases. 2015 was our low point in terms of segment share.
Yeah.
2020 was the record, actually.
Wow.
So we're quite proud of that. So as the volume shrinks because of the market size reducing, our share of the segment, of the premium segment, has been increasing.
Wow.
So it's something that we're proud of. But it's been challenging. It's been fun, a lot of fun, but it has been a challenge.
And so when did Volvo arrive in South Africa?
I think, after we pulled out in the early 70s, we came back in 1994 as a private importer. First it was with another group, then moved over to the Wheels of Africa that I mentioned. And then from 2000, it's been a official importer subsidiary of Volvo Car Corporation.
Okay. And Volvo, as we're talking about Volvo as an importer, in a world, as you put it just now, a lot of the other German manufacturers make cars locally, or should I say assemble cars locally. How do you find that being an importer versus having competitors that are locally manufacture cars?
So I think the biggest disadvantage is that because we don't produce or we don't export, we don't generate what's normally known as export credits, which you can use to offset the duties against the imports.
Yes.
So yes, you can sell them as an exporter. You can sell those export credits, but obviously it's a lot better to import it yourself. So we do make use of those export credits that we buy, but we do pay a lot more in terms of duties and ad valorem than what would an exporter pay. So obviously that's got an impact on profit margin. And I think, I would say the advantage is that being a small company, we're a lot more agile and a lot more flexible. We can take decisions a lot quicker than perhaps some of the bigger operators.
How long does it take to ship a car?
From Europe, it's about 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then from China, roughly 7 or 8 weeks.
I think that's quicker than some of the other OEMs who came in.
Yeah.
It's a bit quicker. So, I mean, that's also...
Well, I suppose it speaks to Greg's, fact around it's a smaller, more agile, nimble company.
You too much shipping times, right? Not the production times.
Yeah,
shipping times.
So 3 to 4 weeks and then 7 to 8 from China.
Wow. Okay. So if somebody in South Africa orders a car, for instance, and it's not in the country, what would that lead time be? more or less?
I would say 3 months.
3 months.
Normally, unless there's a short supply of the cars globally, then obviously it takes longer. But on average, 3 months, a month to get it into production, a couple of weeks of production, and then shipping.
Yeah, because I don't want anybody to kind of think that you can order a car from Volvo and get it 8 weeks later. It doesn't.
Yeah, but we do have quite a lot supply in the country.
Okay.
We've got a couple of hundred cars at any one time. So unless it's a very unusual or unique car with specific features, more than likely we'll be able to offer the car within a week.
There was a story that we're covering around the global chip shortage. Has that impacted Volvo?
It has, yeah.
Yeah, I think basically every single manufacturer in the world has been impacted.
And now it goes beyond car manufacturers, it goes into electronics as well.
Yeah.
Sony's released a statement that it will affect their PlayStations.
Yeah,
so it's a lot more than global automotive,
Yeah.
But it has affected us.
Incredible.
So traditionally, Greg, when people think about Volvo, they think about it being the safest car, because Volvo is proud of the fact that it's an incredibly safe car, and that's a perception the Volvo brand's really worked hard on, and you like to be leaders of safety. And if you fast forward to 2021, do you think this perception is still true? And give us some recent examples of how Volvo leads the market in terms of safety.
Well, like you say, Volvo's always been synonymous with safety. I think it's still very much the case. I think the case in point is that right now we're the only manufacturer who's got the from IHS the top safety pick plus across all the cars. So the only one, and we keep on innovating. So it used to be a lot about passive safety. Now it's shifted a lot into the active safety. But the passive safety is very important.
Just explain the difference between passive safety and active.
Passive safety is the structure of the car, for example.
Okay. Yeah.
Active safety will be all the electronics.
How it reacts.
Yeah, and passive safety is, if you have a crash, how is the car built? How is the car designed? Crumple zones, the different uses of the different steel strengths in the car. To make sure that, for example, if it's a frontal or a side front, the engine goes down, as little impact on the compartment where the driver and the passengers are.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about the engine dropping in the case of an accident. I suppose what you want, and that's what makes battery electric vehicles so safe, is because you don't have this big piece of metal that's flying towards you in an accident. So Volvo has solved that in the ICE vehicles by making the engine drop onto the ground, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Yeah.
But even from an electric car, there's no engine, but you've got highly flammable batteries. So it also depends where the manufacturers put the batteries. So ours are in the center console with a lot of reinforcement around it.
Okay. Because we've heard about these fires.
Yeah, we ran a few stories actually about
lithium ion.
But there was
what was his name from that show?
What, somebody who can burst up in flames?
Oh man, Jeremy Clarkson's little partner.
Oh, Richard Hammond.
Yes, he fly off the road and his car burnt out or something.
The Rimac. Yeah, I do recall that story.
Yes.
Yeah, crazy.
So there's an example. So Volvo packs the batteries with lots of reinforcement.
I mean, historically, we're busy talking about some of the inventions that Volvo has come out and sort of innovated. The first one being something that I think has saved millions of lives is the 3-point seatbelt in 1959.
Volvo invented that.
Yeah,
Volvo invented it. I think what's interesting is that we didn't patent it, but gave it to the rest of the automotive industry.
Did you do that? You did that on purpose?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweden, not just the car brand, but the Swedish people are very much caring about others.
Yeah.
So this was one of the big signs that cars are driven by people. The opening statement. So we need to make sure that we protect them, and it's not just about Volvo drivers; it's all the drivers.
People. Yeah. And this has saved millions of lives. I mean, we still use that pretty much the exact same technology. It works, right? Yeah. And I think of all safety equipment, it's probably the one that's lasted the longest.
And we spoke about active safety a bit earlier. That's the primary one, that everything else works around it. If your head goes forward or if your body goes forward, the airbag can hurt you, if not kill you. Everything else relies on the fact that you've got a seatbelt restrained into the seat.
It's a premium brand. It's always been been one of the reasons why it stayed such a premium brand for so long, is because it thinks about these small little increments.
The nuances.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
the details.
What are the other 8?
So I'm just going to name a few of them. Rear-facing child seats in 1972. The side impact protection in 91. Whiplash protection in 98. Inflatable curtains in 98 as well.
98. That's early, hey?
Yeah. Coming back to closer to now, we have city safety. I know that's been upgraded now into the pedestrian detection with braking system, which I've actually seen working with some of the trucks, if I'm not mistaken, which blew my mind. Literally blew my mind. These 2 kids were crossing a road.
And the car stopped.
The Volvo truck literally just stopped, and I was like, what?
And there's no input from the driver?
No. And you can't switch it off either.
Yeah.
So it's there. And obviously, up to a certain speed, it will prevent the accident. Above a certain speed, you can't predict.
It's nothing you can do.
You can't start braking too early.
It's just physics,
but
right?
It will stop. It will slow down and prevent a serious accident.
Yes.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's absolutely incredible. So getting on to another topic here, Greg, and that is COVID-19. You know, that funny thing that we've never heard about. How has the business fared during the year 2020? How did you do last year?
I mean, I think for everybody it was a tough year. There's no doubt about it. The market from quite a healthy market in Q1 2020 for everybody. April was 0 sales, more or less. We sold 1 car that gave us a 50% segment share because there's one other car that's delivered. And then started off very slowly from May onwards. We haven't fully recovered. I don't think we've recovered as a country.
Yeah.
Probably the traffic is back to normal, more or less.
Kind of, depending on the time of the day, right?
Yeah, but it's been a tough one. And then for us in Volvo Car South Africa, we try to handle it as much as we can. We were very prudent in terms of social distancing, so we broke up and worked from home about 2 weeks before the official lockdown, and we continued to do that in various forms until more or less August. We had a half office and a quarter office, and we rotated people. But glad to say that for the time being, we're back to 100%, and it's just it's okay to work from home, but so much nicer when you're at the office with everybody.
Yeah,
it's just a different atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, our philosophy there is what we've learnt as a business is that work from home is not necessarily good for a culture. You don't get the passing decision making, the passing conversations, meeting at the water cooler, solving exactly problems. You have to actually physically Zoom somebody.
Yeah.
And you can't have a meeting about something that you don't know.
Yes.
And when you're in office, you overhear things, you walk past, you can have a quick discussion.
Yes.
So it's much better as far as I'm concerned.
So you're fully at the office for now. So besides safety, Greg, what else does the brand focus on? What are the lesser known facts about Volvo that you can tell everybody?
Well, I think we're quite strong. One of the leaders, I think, in electrification, which we'll talk about later, hopefully. And then also the driver aids that you mentioned. We have got a vision to have a self-driving autonomous car in the next couple of years. Obviously, it'll be in stages. But all the safety features and the driver aids that we've mentioned, all that eventually will come together to have an autonomous car.
Well, I mean, working towards autonomy, I think, is such a difficult thing to do. But I think Volvo, I've read quite a bit about Volvo focusing on this area, and how is it going? What can you tell us that you've learnt, and how's it progressing from an autonomous car point of view?
I think everybody, including Volvo, has underestimated the complexity of what an autonomous car is, and you can make the car drive itself, but when you put all the dynamics of people and other cars around it, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
And so, 5 years ago, people were saying that early 20s will have cars driving by themselves. We're nowhere near having cars drive by itself all the time.
Yeah.
So what you experienced, on the highway or on the road, you can go straight. It'll keep the speed. That's stage one, and we'll keep on innovating on top of that. But to have a fully autonomous car in every single road conditions, I think we're still far, far away from it.
And I think you spot on there from a complexity point of view. It's all good and well having an idea and getting investors behind that idea, but a real car manufacturer now grappling with this, you start to realize how difficult it really is to fully autonomize. I mean,
it needs to speak to the environment, right? It's not just. I mean, if it would be one thing if all the cars are speaking to each other, but now you have different even
1968 Ford Mustang, for instance, driving next to one of these.
Yeah. It would just would not work.
There's so many other cars, but let's say 2050 we're going to have autonomous cars.
Yeah.
But between now and then, when you have a degree of autonomous cars and then some which are not, I think that's the challenge. Because once all the cars are autonomous and they're talking to each other, that's quite easy.
It's easy, but you got to get there.
Yeah.
And that's part of the complexity, I suppose, because you got to solve for that.
Yeah.
But let's get into my passionate area, and that is the battery electric vehicle that Volvo is bringing to South Africa shortly. Tell us a bit about, is it the XC40?
So it's the XC40 T8 variant, the Recharge, full electric. We launched it to the press about a week ago or so. We announced the prices last week, Thursday. I'm glad to say that all the cars, the first production has been sold out in South Africa.
All sold out?
All sold out. So it was a difficult one to see how many cars do we need. We were given 15 because it's a new car globally.
Yeah. And was that sold out within like a short period of time of the announcement?
It was essentially a weekend. Yeah. We announced the prices on Friday morning. By Sunday,
it was gone.
Fully sold out, yeah.
And fully sold out online, right? That's
online.
You could only buy it online.
Correct. So that's one of the decisions we've taken globally, is that in the future, all the electric cars will only be available online. We've done a lot of research, and it's quite clear that while the customers definitely want a relationship with the dealership when it comes to servicing the car, when it comes to buying, that buying process, they're not a fan of.
Okay.
It's intimidating. They don't want to negotiate. They don't want to go around and just discuss all the things. And is my neighbor getting a better deal than I am?
That's kind of a case study in itself, because I know George is super, super passionate about automotive digital retailing. And one of the pain points that we always speak about is the financing and insurance that's done.
And the
online.
haggling. I mean, consumers, they want to get the best deal, as you say. They want to feel like they got the best price. And I suppose a move like this to having it online directly with the OEM takes away that haggling, because the price you see is the price you pay, and everybody pays it.
That's the whole point behind it. There's no negotiation. And as I mentioned earlier, the customer must be happy with the price.
Yeah.
But they don't know the guy before them
has
got a better price.
Yeah.
It's that uncertainty. And it takes away from the joy of buying a brand new car.
That's true.
So
it's a case study in itself. The fact that it was possible is something that's worth noting.
Well, I think you're right. We should actually get into that as a topic on its own one day, and just talk about online sales. Maybe we can get Greg back and just talk about online sales. But let's get back to the battery electric vehicle XC40 that you're bringing out. And sorry for dragging you back there, but tell us a little bit about. Are you going to bring more?
We hope so.
Okay.
This is the first electric car for Volvo. It's very popular globally, as you can imagine, especially in Europe, where the market's shifted more towards electric cars than elsewhere in the world.
Yes.
But we plan to launch a new electric car every year now. Some will be existing models, like with the XC40. In 2 years' time, I think we'll have a totally new segment that we're going to go into. So it'll be smaller Volvo, 2-3 years' time. But every year between now and 2025, we'll have a new electric car coming through.
Wow. So Volvo's future intention is battery electric. So just tell me, the hybrid versions of the car, was that a stepping stone, or do you see hybrids continuing for much longer?
It's definitely a stepping stone between a fully ICE engine, and then you've got mild hybrids and plug-in hybrids, and then on its way into a fully electric future. So
Volvo's definitely squarely focused on this fully electric future.
So what we've said is about 2030, all our new cars will be electric. So all the ICE engines will fall away.
Yeah.
Diesel sooner than petrol. And by 2030, we plan to have a full showroom to be electric.
And with regards to the XC40, I mean, we surely wouldn't know how popular it's going to be in South Africa. But is there any incentives that have helped push those sales that Volvo is offering?
Well, there's nothing from the government perspective. So in most countries, if not all the countries, there where the electric cars have taken off, it's always been subsidized in some way by the government. What we've done from Volvo side is we've launched it with a care package. So it's got a normal 5-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty maintenance plan. But we also added 3 years of comprehensive insurance, with the wall box charger for the home.
Nice.
Any public cord will be included.
So those you don't pay for, you get it with the car.
It's with the car. And specifically in South Africa, the distances between the cities are
big.
Pretty big,
big. Distances long. So we're aware of that. So what we've done is that for the first 3 years, there will be a 2-week period every year that the customer can request a petrol-driven car just to take on a holiday. And I think that will take away from this range anxiety and having to stop every couple hundred kilometers to charge up. The infrastructure is there on the major routes, so that's not an issue. But the long distance, it just adds to the total trip.
Well, the range anxiety is psychological, like we were talking about just before this. You know, you've got a car that could do 400 kilometers.
So it's definitely still possible, right?
It's very possible. You're going to stop every 200 Ks because you just don't know. You know, in your head you don't know. It's it's very possible to do. So how Volvo is solving this is to allow you to take an ICE vehicle for 2 weeks of the year. It's going to be noisy.
Well, at least you don't have to stop.
Exactly.
But I think from a infrastructure point of view, as I mentioned earlier, the charger stations are there. But whether the range is 350 or 450, you're not going to take the chance. And I think it's that whole mindset that needs to change. Forget about the long trips. Even on a daily basis, you don't fill up the car when it's empty. You charge it now when you can. So when you're at home with a wall box charger, charge it overnight. When you go shopping, there's a charger there. Just top it up.
George always says, like your mobile phone, just treat it
like your phone. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk for a second about the import taxes and the incentives. Is there anything you can tell us there from negotiation with the government point of view? Because we're calling on the government all the time to do something about this, because we've got to move to an electric future. And I've heard figures of 25, 35, 45, up to 80, 85%. Tax on a car, from the import tax all the way through to the ad valorem taxes and other excise taxes that just push the price of the car up to the end consumer. Is there any positive future here that you can see, or are we only in the early stages?
Well, I think we are in early stages. So first of all, the electric car is more expensive to manufacture. That's a fact. For the time being, 25, 26, it might be in line with the ICE car. 27, 28, maybe a little bit cheaper, we'll see. But there's no support from the government now. A lot of discussion happening, and I think the government needs to do something, but the question is, can they afford to do it? So
they're very reliant on the taxes.
They are, and it's not just the import tax we're talking about, it's also the petrol taxes. Petrol in South Africa is very highly taxed. That's a source of revenue for the government. And if you look at it in the short term, what we essentially asking the government to do is take away the money that they might not have and that they would normally give it to the poor, and subsidize cars, which for the time being, for the next 1 or 2 years, it's a rich car. So the government isn't stuck between a rock and a hard place, but they have to do something. Our exports have to change to electric within the next couple of years. I think 3/4 of our production is going to Europe. European cars, after 2025, there's more and more countries that will not allow diesel, then later on ICE cars into the major cities.
Which then puts our market at risk.
Exactly. And if we can't export, that's got a huge impact on the local economy.
So
I think sooner or later the government has to step in.
Well, there you go. If the government is listening, please, we're asking you nicely, do something about incentivizing electric cars. So finally, Greg, how important is the used car market to Volvo in South Africa?
I think it's very important. When you sell your new car that you bought, there has to be a market for it. Otherwise, there will not be a market for new cars. And I think historically there's been that perception that Volvo has got poor residual values. I think it was true maybe 10, 15 years ago. That's all changed. So we've spent a lot of time to try and overcome that perception. It's difficult to change perception. So there's still some people who think Volvo's got poor residual value. What we've done last 3 years, I think, we've guaranteed the residual values together with Volvo Car Finance. So even if a customer doesn't buy that finance package, the fact that there's a guarantee that he can have, I think puts a lot of comfort in the customer's mind. And we've been following the used car values. We're right up there with our competition.
And you've got the Volvo Select program.
We do.
Which kind of supports that second-hand market.
And it's a very strong offer in terms of making sure that the car is as good as new. So what we like to say, the next best thing next to a new Volvo is a second-hand Volvo.
That's a very good statement to have. Definitely. Well, that's all we have time for. Any other thoughts, Wandi?
No, I might just definitely considering. But I think a lot of people are going to be excited to hear some of the things that are coming in the future. Let's see what happens. We'll definitely keep our eyes and ears.
Any other final thoughts there, Greg?
Thank you for inviting me.
You're most welcome. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of another AutoCentral show. And we have had in the studio, I'm going to have to read the surname, Greg Maruszewski, Managing Director of Volvo Car South Africa. And we were joined kindly by this black XC90. See you next time.
Thank you.